Hey, what's up guys? I'm going to teach you how to hang a TV today. I spent about 10 plus years of my life hanging TVs and doing whole house audio videos and custom home theaters and everything. So I'm gonna make this really easy for you and break it down and just make it super simple as I can possibly do. Alright, so the first thing that we want to do is put the bracket on the TV and you're going to have to remove the base of the stand before you do that. It just makes everything helpful. So there's usually about some 4 screws or some kind of thing, but it's usually an intuitive way to get rid of the stand. So I'm just going to go ahead and start getting rid of these. You want to be really careful not to strip the bolts. If you're sliding on the threads, you want to back off and probably change your Phillips head. This is like a number 2 Phillips, and sometimes you need a 3, which is the point on the Phillips that's kind of more broad. A lot of times that prevents the screw from stripping. Okay, so with this particular bracket, it's a cantilever bracket, and it has a square mount like this that's going to go to the TV, and then a single stud mounting hardware. If you have a static mount where it doesn't swing out, you'll still have a plate that goes directly to the TV, and you'll probably have a piece that goes directly to the wall, and they're not connected. So you always want to set the part that goes on the TV first. You'll always find a 4-screw layout on the back of the TV. So this bracket won't reach that, obviously, so it comes with these adapter plates that will help us reach the corners. So I'm going to put this bracket together and then mount that onto the TV. God damn, it's in Chinese. Now that I've put this bracket on the TV, we can start getting our measurements. You'll notice with brackets is they're not really ever the same. Some have slots, some are square, some have adapters, whatever. But you can usually figure it all out in the instructions of the bracket. That's a very case-by-case scenario. With this particular bracket, it's a cantilever bracket, and almost every single time it mounts to the center of the TV, throwing the stud or the hanging part off center. So you're kind of bound by either adapting the wall or having a TV that's slightly kind of off. Once we get the bracket on the TV, we know that these are the mounting holes on the bracket here. We're going to be getting that measurement like hanging a picture from the top of the TV. So I just kind of get that measurement from the top of the TV. It's about 8 inches. And then I can even do 9.5. Okay, so at this point, I know that it's 8 to the top of the bracket hole, like the mounting hardware. And what you want to do is measure the TV, not from the side here, because that's giving me like 24.25. What I want to do is measure it from the center, because a lot of times TVs have this bump up in the center. So you really want to consider that. So you measure that, which is 24.5. So we have 24.5 TV height and 8 inches to the bracket hole. One of the biggest things about mounting a TV is where on the wall you want to put it. Now this particular room isn't that long. It's rather short. It's a New York apartment, so we don't want to have it super high, which would be fine if the room was really long and like more of a great room. But we have a basic sitting area, so we're going to go a little bit low, which is about 37 inches to the bottom of the TV. So this TV is 24.5, so we're going to go to right there. That's going to be the height of the TV. I really highly recommend having somebody hold the TV to look at it. It's a really sloppy way of doing it. It never turns out right. People don't hold it right or mark the wall correctly. Use something like this with tape. If you're really particular about not being unsure, cut out some cardboard and just use some painter's tape to attach it to the wall. But really, locking down this height that you want is really important. A few guidelines and tricks that I like to use for TV height is, let's say I were to do an install and nobody was in the house and it was a standard house. I do 40 inches to the bottom. That's a normal height for a TV in a regular room. But I think it's nice to go off of something in the room. In this particular case, we went off of this door. We went off of the center of this doorknob. So the bottom of the TV is going to be matching with the room with a fixed object. It's not another piece of art or anything, something that's ingrained. So finding the stud can be tricky, but sometimes you get really lucky, and I think we're going to be good today. So we have a stud I found earlier. I used a stud finder, and we know that there's one here. And with standard building code, you have a stud every 16 inches. So there's going to be one here, and then another one here. You can even see that on this measuring tape, it's every 16, and there's a reason for that, because most measuring tape is meant for a lot of builders. So here is one of the studs, and you can hear it. I don't know if this translates, but it's very dense. And you'll hear it start to echo as soon as I hit the space in between the other stud. So very light sounding, very dense. And then it gets dense again, which is 16 inches. So we know we have a stud here, and we have one here. That's 16, so we have two studs. We have the ideal center, which is actually roughly on the stud, if not maybe a little bit over to the right. Here is my new mark for the top of the TV, which I went and I shot left and right. And then I took the stud and I marked a line down that. So now I have these guides, and I know that 8 inches down is where I want to drill that bracket in. So I just follow my guide there. Just make my mark at 8 inches. And that is where I'll be mounting the bracket. Okay, so this is the lag that is supplied with the bracket here. And what I want to do is I want to pre-drill the hole to make my life easier. And you want to use the drill bit that's a little bit skinnier than the center, the beefy part of the screw. Forget the threads and just look at just the part of the inside, and you want it just slightly smaller than that. Okay, so now we're going to drill. I have on the top of my TV, 8 inches down is the hole in the bracket. So I want to pre-drill that. And you didn't see it, but we should have gotten some wood grains to come out of the wall, which it looks like it. Also, I've been doing this for a while, so I know what it feels like when it goes into wood versus just drywall. A little trick is, if you want to check your drill, after you drill, pull out a little bit more drill bit and see if you can push to make it stop. If it stops and doesn't keep going, you know that there's going to be even more wood. So let's say the first time I drilled in here, and that's where my chuck hit the wall, and then I just gave it a little bit more drill bit and I try to keep going, and it keeps going, I know there's no more stud. If it stops, then I know that there was more stud. So it's just a double check thing. It's nice to know. With this particular bracket, we don't have a wall mount and a TV mount that go together. It's all one thing. So instead of holding up the TV and trying to crank it in and slopping it all around, I'm just going to put this drill in just a little bit so that when I do that, it's just that much easier. So I got that going, and actually my tip was kind of starting to strip too, so I'm going to change that out. But first I'm going to get this TV up over my shoulder. I'm going to balance it and drill it in. That's what I would do if I was by myself. I could probably try it, but the person operating the camera will probably help me. It would be safer since it's his TV. And we'll probably just get that part started just so you can see. So this is kind of my setup here. If I'm doing it myself, which I don't really recommend, but if you really want, basically, I have this on the shoulder, all my weight's here. I can put this up against the wall and kind of like get the drill ready. But since I pre-drilled and then pre-drilled the lag, I can kind of just put it in by hand, just enough to get it on the wall so that I can get that going. So here it is, guys. Came up perfect, of course. And there was a couple actual technical problems. The bolts that came with this TV's bracket were really soft and shitty, which is usually the case with most brackets. The lags that come with them are really crappy. I usually suggest getting your own because there's going to be a more durable end. So I actually had to hand crank them in to get it sturdy once it was like most of the way in. But that was about it, and I hope that helps you guys out. Let me know if any questions, subscribe, all that junk. Peace.